A Deadly Education is about an evil overlord and a prophesized hero totally not dating a Cthulhu high school. Except that's not what the book is about. The book is more about the style and that it's written, in that when the chapter is introduced, especially in the early chapters, you get a very negative impression of the main character, including the first words of the very book, which give you a very different impression about the character than what she actually is. And then the more context that you get on the situation, the more you tend to understand and change the opinion of the various characters you get. So it imitates that cliquey high school way of judging someone and then actually understanding them and developing empathy for them. I've never seen a book written quite as well in doing this, except that that might not be what the book is about either. You see, what the book is actually about, or could actually be about, is anti-capitalism, because enough of the book involves the reasoning behind why this magical school exists. And now we kind of got to get into it. I got to tell you about the exposition. We got to lay it down and school you about this deadly education. You see, it turns out when wizards are born, they get magical powers and they all have talents towards what they can or can't do. But all of them attract the attention of monstrous demon-like entities. And groups called the Enclaves, which are the most powerful of the magicians, have gathered up the wizards into one centralized school location for them to develop their powers. This is outside the realm of normal human existence. Since it doesn't follow the normal rules of physics, it acts as sort of a death funnel for all the monsters that would go in and hunt these students down. For the monsters that do survive, at least all of the students are banded together and able to fight off the monsters if they have to. In order to not have the adults attract these demons, because the adults have a lot of power but they can control it and fight off these demons, they remove them entirely and teach them via spell books. But the point is, a bunch of students all in one place that are fighting these off. These Enclaves, however, were the first ones to do this, and the school used to be all about them. But since then, they've kind of let a couple other less worthy candidates in, because they figure if they promise some gifts to people who survive, then those people, you know, if they can't win, the monsters might get full on someone else, or you know, if they don't get strong enough to beat the monsters, then, you know, they have people who have vouched to defend them, even if they aren't particularly good at it. So this has caused a bit of a cutthroat Machiavellian school, where our main character, Galadriel, finds herself. Or I should call her Elle, since that's what she calls herself. Now this is where Naomi Novik starts to actually have a lot of criticisms levied towards her. This murder school full of monsters that they're just kind of trying to survive over and over again. The main character is sarcastic, sardonic, and doesn't trust anyone, because she is the prophesized evil overlord, and a lot of people avoid her, and she kind of sits by herself at lunchtime. She has a kind of paranoid mentality. Actually, being in her mentality is a bit of a strain. One warning that I have to give is that while I enjoy this book, and while I overall kind of recommend it, and I will probably revisit it, it brought on the worst aspects of high school and made me relive a lot of my worst memories. So if that's not appealing to you, then you might want to skip this one. If you want to have some fun though, oh, the ending, chapter 9 through 13, 9 for character development, and 10 through 13 for actually implementing the plan. This book is fantastic at that, except for the very end, which was a bit disappointing because it was all building up to something, and then it kind of delivers. I wish it had gone farther, is the point. Another issue with the book that a lot of people brought up is some racial or non-sensitive topics. A lot of people critique the main character, Elle, for not being Indian enough. She is half Indian and half Welsh, and she grew up in Wales, so I kind of got the feeling that she was just mostly Welsh. If anything, I've found that those critiques kind of are insensitive in themselves. The other two comments that are often brought up as being problematic are once when Elle says having long hair is a problem because some of the demons can hide in it and lay their eggs in it, and she specifically mentions dreadlocks as being a problem. Dreadlocks as a hairstyle have been picked on from various different groups because of their being different and not well understood. So singling them out as a specific long-haired hairstyle where demons tend to reside rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Naomi Novik has since apologized for bringing up dreadlocks in particular. For me, this feels more like the character making the mistake in addition to the author making the mistake. Well, sensitivity readers probably should have informed that more people would react to that than normal. The other one that is definitely a character mistake is Elle looking at some Arabic writing and saying that it looked like a car about to run people over because of the swoops in it, as well as the things that they said looked like people. And that one feels to me like it's the character being insensitive rather than the author. I think the author would know that that was insensitive, but that felt like Elle being particularly difficult, and being like, I really don't want to do this, and looking for the negative impression of it without thinking of it. It very much felt like a high schooler putting their foot in their mouth. So those three issues might bring you down, might not want you to read it, and the main character's mentality, those issues might bring you down, might not make you want to read it, and the main character's mentality and being in her head might be just as much of an issue for some people. She's very negative, very sardonic, very sarcastic, very willful. I actually really like that mentality most of the time. With Elle, it pushes it a bit too far, because sometimes she goes, she overthinks things to the point where I'm like, she's like, okay, I can't do this because of this, but I need to focus on this, and this. And I'm like, hold on. At part 3, if you would just focus on that one, that makes sense. And there's a lot of times where the author is saying, like, the character doesn't really know what she wants. And the way she's doing things, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. She clearly doesn't know what she wants. And it takes a couple chapters for her to either realize that she's not being internally consistent, or realize that there's a better way to do things. And that almost made me want to, like, strangle the character. I was like, oh my god, please write down what you think you want and realize that this isn't making sense. It's either illogical or you don't know what you want. Luckily they do that, it just takes a while. Lastly, I cannot think of a reason for the character to be there. The author provides a lot of world building, actually a lot of very great world building about this Cthulhu High School and why they're supposed to be there, but there's a issue where it doesn't really apply to the main character, where unless the main character was specifically doing it to get away from her, basically her companions, her mother maybe, to get the demons away from them, she is a master of dark and arcane stuff. She's very good at violence, and the big worry of a bunch of demons coming by is far better than having a bunch of people who might want to kill her because of a prophecy in a school. It seems like she traded out the safer option to go with the standard option. It's very possible that Elle wants to do something that she still doesn't realize, or that she wants to prove herself to all these people while still not really wanting to be a part of them. Because her internal desires being unknown is a thing, I'm willing to say that in the sequels, something else might come into play. Speaking of which, the prophesized hero that she is not dating, named Orion. Orion is suspicious, since a lot of the text involves establishing a reputation, and then with context understanding how that reputation kind of destroys them. Orion being the prophesized hero makes me really suspicious. Overall, I would give this, I would say, a 3 out of 5, because the negative mentality really starts to wear on you, and experiencing all those negative emotions over and over again in high school, that wasn't exactly the most pleasant experience in the world, enough so that I had to kind of stop what I was doing for a while and be like, no, body, please don't feel that. But I imagine that depends on the person who's reliving those moments, and the people who are living through this book. However, no matter what experience that you've seen, you will see the clickiness, especially of the rich kids. And now we get to the anti-capitalism stuff. So, since the Enclave kids have the ability to bully the other people into potentially getting a position in the Enclave and being more secure, they make a lot of barters, and in fact the entire school seems to be set up to have these people basically trade their lives and their services for these rich kids in order to get ahead. And everyone comments how the system is broken in favor of these kids, and how it just favors all of these really, really shitty arrangements and shitty world after the fact, where a lot of people find the system really stupid, but they are forced to play into it on pain of their life. And that's where the anti-capitalism comes in, which may be where the series is headed overall. Since Elle is an agent of change and an agent of destruction, she may be a revolutionary in that sense after they get out of this Cthulhu High School. And I think I'll be there for when that happens. Thank you, Naomi Novik, for making this complicated text that's very hard to review, and I cannot wait to see the sequel. Bye, everyone. In a school of magic, still filled with hurry, I relieve fury else and make them feel my